Hello, good morning. Namaste, almost on time this morning. And welcome to my Road to Rapture part 12. Wow, amazing. I can't believe we're almost at launch day. So super welcome to whoever's watching live or watching back. Hi, how are you this morning? I realize I kind of overdid it in the yoga class I was teaching this morning. I teach private Shakti yoga classes a few times a week, and I did a really hardcore, beautiful class today with a lot of focus on the root and the lower three energy centers, and I can really feel that right now in the top of my right thigh. So I've given myself and my client a wonderful class. Hang on, I've just made the thing shake a little bit. So welcome. Hi, I'm Shakti Sundari. I'm a priestess of love and sacred sexuality, a teacher of embodied awareness and awakening for women. I'm here to talk about my road to Rapture, how I came to publish this beautiful book, Rapture, A Guide to Sexual and Spiritual Awakening for Women, which is going on sale on Saturday. And also just to mention the course that I'm teaching that goes along with the book, which is next launching October the 28th, so quite imminently. So today's live is called Refining Rapture and the Shaman's Return. It's really beautiful how so many synchronistic events and universe support moments have been a part of this process. And of course, it's beautiful for me to look back and reflect on those because I wasn't always conscious of them at the time. So there's kind of two parts to today's sharing. The first part, Refining Rapture, is about the final editing process for the book as well as the course, Rapture, because they go hand in hand. Although you can do one and you can buy the book without doing the course, and you can do the course. Well, actually, if you do the course, you get a free copy of the book anyway. But they go together. So it's about how I've kind of refined and honed both. And then the second part, the shaman's return, is about the return of the shaman who has been a part of the cosmic weave of this whole creation. So I think the part that I ended up in the sharing yesterday was where I'd kind of finally finished and met my deadline for myself of completing the book within a month. So I had given all my focus, and guys, it really works. And oh yes, I mentioned a book yesterday and I couldn't find it. That's because it was under my bed. So I did find it. And the book that I mentioned yesterday is Existential Kink by Dr. Carolyn Elliott. Unmask your shadow and embrace your power. So that's the book I referred to yesterday, where in one of the chapters she suggests focusing on one thing for a month to get it done. And it works. The power of focused intention. So then I, of course, even though I'd completed the first draft, I was going back and rereading and editing as I was going along. You know, it's a process. And I'm a perfectionist, and it has to feel right and it has to sound right and the punctuation has to be right. Of course, I have a particular style of writing. We all have our own particular styles. So I was, you know, I'm the writer, I'm the editor, I'm the publisher, I'm the agent. I'm kind of doing everything myself, which I actually kind of have enjoyed. You know, and alongside that process of refining, I was teaching the Rapture course again. So on the first round of the course, the material is completely in parallel. Each chapter mirrors, you know, a segment of the course. I was teaching through Facebook Live, and then the material was for self-study, and that's the way that I interacted with the participants. And the feedback that I got that time around, it was a 6-week course, was that the material is very deep, and it's a lot of material to get through in 6 weeks. And what was the other thing? There was a sense of kind of expectation from themselves of some of the participants, and comparing themselves to me and feeling that they kind of weren't where I was in terms of ecstatic awakening. And of course, that's unlikely if you're new to the material, whereas I've been, you know, immersed in this stuff for almost 20 years. So that was the feedback, and I will read some of the feedback and testimonials in a minute, so you get a sense of this. But what that showed me, and was a reflection back to me, because, you know, sometimes we're so wrapped up in our own world and our own way of being that we forget it's not how everything else is. So the thing that's really clear to me from how I teach and how I work and in everything that I do is that it goes deep. So I do not float along at the surface. I'm a projector in human design, so I love and can't help myself but go very, very deeply into everything that I teach and offer. And that's not how everyone is, but that is one of the hallmarks. If you're going to work with me, we go deep. We do not stay at the surface levels. I want to get right to the heart of whatever is there. So that was important for me to recognize about the quality that I bring to my teachings and to my courses. So even if it's an online course, it's deep. You know, I've bought online courses and had different experiences, but oftentimes, you know, I'm like, wow, this is just so superficial, you know, but nothing I do is superficial. So it goes deep. There's a lot of material there. And another thing that I recognized in that is the way that I operate, the way that I am. I give a lot. So there's a richness. I give. Sometimes I have over-delivered and over-given, so that actually people feel overwhelmed with the amount of homework or practices that there is that's available, even though obviously everything is always a choice. There is no, I'm not going to be sitting there with my cane like a school mistress saying, now why haven't you done this? You know, it's up to you. I actually don't want to work with people who don't have that motivation. If you haven't got that motivation and you haven't got that desire yourself to want to know more, if you haven't got that hunger to grow, to become more self-aware, then I don't really want to work with you, if I'm honest. You know, you have to bring that yourself. So I don't want to be standing over you with the whip. That's just not how I want to, the kind of client that I want. And I think the other thing, that highlighted for me is that sometimes when women come onto these courses, or I don't know if this is something that's changed, is like the expectation of them from themselves of having a sudden result, you know. And like I said before in one of my other lives, you know, there is this culture very much, I think it's general out in the world right now, like everything has sped up and everybody wants instant gratification, and there is this very masculine patriarchal culture of achievement and goal setting and, like, you know, here's a problem, let's fix it, right? Which is a very masculine approach. Excuse me, hang on a sec. This is the hangover from COVID. My voice kind of it went and it's still not back fully. So yeah, this goal-oriented approach, this let's fix it approach, you know, to sexuality, to the feminine, that's not how she works. That's not how we work. That's not how she won't respond. Your sexuality, your body, your feminine is not going to respond if you're sitting there going, come on, like, why haven't you activated yet? Like, why aren't you feeling pleasure yet? Like, why aren't you multi-orgasmic yet? You know, and this whole kind of culture of comparison and keeping up and like getting things done, this doesn't work for this kind of work, particularly if you want to go deep, you know. Again, this culture of instant gratification, of wanting to go to a workshop and like, oh, let's become multi-orgasmic, let's become sexually awakened in a weekend retreat. You know, no, this is deep, profound work of self-realization, of communion with your shadows, of awakening to the true nature of who you are. It's a path of self-realization. Come with the recognition that it's not for you to control, that she is not for you to control. This process is an unraveling that has its own divine intelligence. And let go of the comparison, let go of the looking over your shoulder to see who's having the best orgasm in the other corner of the room and comparing yourself to that. No, this is all about you and your very unique and individual experience, and a deep dive into this process of evolution and transformation, right? So in this, and I have been teaching women for 18 years and more, I started off teaching ecstatic and conscious dance. My focus on sacred sexuality has been especially in the last 10 years. That's right, the last 10 years. So some of the blocks that can come up for women, and this is a bit of a tangent, but again, it's just coming up to be said, is there can be a feeling of inertia, like somehow an avoidance of doing the homework exercises, and that can be because there is an unconscious awareness that it's going to take you into unconscious material that might be temporarily painful or difficult to look at and to acknowledge. It can be also linked to, for so many women, of course, we have jobs, we have children, we have partners, and there are all these other distractions. And there is this socialization, this conditioning to put everybody else first and everything else first, and to self-sacrifice and to put your own pleasure last, thinking that, and again, this is a very patriarchal mindset, that pleasure is something frivolous, that sexuality or ecstasy is unimportant and all these other things are more important. But for me, that's actually flipping, because we live in this patriarchal world, and as you'll find out if you read the book or take the course, the second chapter is called Everything You've Been Taught is a Lie. It's like that kind of flips an understanding of, I've got hair on my hands, of feminine and masculine. The feminine works in a way from the bottom of the body and the energy centers up. So desire, pleasure, joy, playfulness, bliss, ecstasy, these are the qualities and these experiences that fulfill her. And the more you as a woman, or the feminine within you, is in tune and aligned with and expressing and embodying those aspects, your bliss, your sexual pleasure, your sensual pleasure, your joy, your delight, your creativity. Sexuality isn't just about sex, obviously. It's about every creative movement through your body into the world. Dancing, singing, painting, making beautiful things, cooking. These are all expressions of creativity. So when you're in touch with that aspect of yourself, you're happier, you're healthier, you're more vibrant, you're more exuberant, you enjoy life more, your heart's open, Whereas if you are living from the masculine aspect, like do this, do that, get this done, stress, you're draining your natural vitality and radiance out of yourself. Driving, and stressing the body-mind. That's not how you're designed to be. This is just my opinion. So this thing that desire and pleasure are frivolous, no, they are number one important. And I swear, if every woman was experiencing the pleasure that she is capable of, if every woman was well fucked, the world would be a so much happier place, a so much more peaceful place, a so much more beautiful place, So ignore your pleasure at your peril is what I would say to you. Shouldn't be the last thing on your list. It should be the first thing on your list. And this whole thing of expectation, expecting things from yourself and then judging yourself if you don't meet that expectation, if you do a practice that you witness me like having great pleasure and taking great pleasure from, and you actually feel something shitty and uncomfortable and it doesn't work for you, don't judge, don't compare. That's a very patriarchal way of experiencing things. Instead, become curious, become compassionate. Understand that if there is discomfort, if there is a shitty feeling, if there is an unease or a dis-ease. This is information. This is beautiful. This is an opportunity for something to be met within you, to be reintegrated. You know, do you think that I've gone on this path of sexual and spiritual awakening without going through like tons and tons of shit? It comes up all the time. It never stops. Never. It's part of the path. So again, if you're not ready for that, don't come. Simple. So no sudden results, right? To work with me, you need to want to grow. You need to be willing to be vulnerable and completely honest. If that's what you want, come. All right. So as a result of all of this, I waffled a bit there, but I think it's relevant and interesting actually. I changed the scope of the course, the Rapture course. So from 6 weeks, it's become 5 months. So before we were doing 1 module a week, you know, going through it quite quickly, and I've shifted it. Sorry, we're doing 1 module a day. And is that right? Yeah, that's right. And now I've changed it, so we're doing 1 module a week, which means the course now extends over 5 months. And the other thing that I've changed in the course is that I'm there throughout with the group for a group live mentoring every week. So you really have that support, because this material brings up stuff. And I think people, again, can sort of see things from a very superficial perspective and think, oh, it's just about like having fun in the body and getting, you know, feeling a little bit more pleasure in the body. Please know, please know this. If you start coming into the body with awareness, you are going to encounter everything within your psyche, within your consciousness that has been a barrier until now in your life to your being authentic, to your being fully empowered, to you being fully empleasured. And there's going to be a lot of things in the way of that. And as soon as you step into this container, those things will come up without doubt. So know that, you know. So I'm there holding and guiding all the way through for 5 months. And, you know, with that expert, deep wisdom, presence, love, humor, and a little bit of poking as well to support you on your way. And I also just want to add, that's kind of how the course is now constructed. And then for those who really want to go a level deeper still, or feel that they might need even, you know, extra personal holding, there's the option just for a couple of people, because I don't want to overstretch myself, to do the course with the group and to have weekly one-to-one mentoring with me as well. Anyway, all of that is in the course link, which I'll put which I'll put below afterwards. Let me just read a few of the testimonials from some of the ladies who have done. This is on my laptop, so just forgive me as I look down for a moment. So let's see, there's so many here, so I'm just going to quickly scroll through. It feels really cathartic, and I sense an inner purging. Part of me feels like it's dying, while another part feels like it's reclaiming itself. I feel like I'm on a journey of unfoldment, removing some of the false conditioning I've learned to put on my sexuality, and actually discovering what it means for me. I really felt it when you said sexuality is interlinked with spirituality. I'm feeling my body in a different way, which can feel odd at times. Life feels nicer, I'm more peaceful, I have deep bursts of love that feel wonderful. My partner and I have spoken and reconnected. Wow, so deeply powerful. Thank you, Shakti, for waking my joy. Last night, in my dream, I had a strong orgasm. It felt so real that it woke me up. I normally have nightmares, so it makes a nice change. And this is a lady who'd been really separated from her body and her pleasure for many years. Thank you. I have to say, last night, intimacy with my partner went to another level. I've never enjoyed it like this before. I'm full of smiles this weekend. I appreciate you explaining why embodiment is important, and it made me realize I've been avoiding it for a long time. After starting with the shaking, I've been feeling more confident and radiant, and even a friend noticed. I'm looking forward to more dancing and more embodiment in the future, which is huge for me because I've just come out of a traumatic relationship and felt very stuck and frozen. I've gained so much from the classes. There's an abundance of pleasure inside me that I've only scratched the surface of. Intimacy with my partner is so much more pleasurable. End of just week 1, and so many personal lessons already playing out, particularly in my work life. Realizations of how the patriarchy has shaped how we turn up as female leaders, given the lack of divine feminine role models, and unconsciously modeling the male leader. Many of us are ashamed of our feminine superpowers, our emotions, our fierceness, our intuition, our creativity, our energy, our unique gifts, and our hearts, and often shutting them down or letting others shut them down or shame them. I am learning the importance of sovereignty, of holding my truth in all areas, and knowing I deserve unconditional love, respect, and to be heard in all my Shakti forms. We are magical creators that the world needs more of. Looking forward to taking more time to explore my desires and to understand all of this. Thank you. So there's just a few comments from some of the women who've taken the course, and it's like, wow, I kind of forget, but it's actually really beautiful to read those out loud. So then I'm just going to jump gears and talk about the shaman's return, which is just a really sweet full circle. If you've been following these lives, you may have heard me speak, and I can't remember what number live it was in now, where some years ago I was writing, or I had begun to write the book, but then I had shelved it, and I was at a festival, that's right, it was in 2018 I believe, and I was sitting on the grass, and Rebecca Shaman, she's a wonderful cacao and ayahuasca ceremonialist, just came up to me and just sat down and said, so how's your book coming along? And I was like, how does she know about my book, right? And that kind of seemed like a message from the universe to keep going. And I actually sent her the original transcript of the first completed version of the book, which is the one full of every chapter being an episode describing one of my sexual encounters with a lover and what I learned as a result of it, really full of graphic sexual detail. So I'd sent that to her, and then she had written back to me and said, let's have a phone conversation, and I was too afraid, and I never called her, so it just kind of got left. So that was that, and she did a card reading for me, which was also very portentous and powerful. Anyway, so fast forward to June this year, and I went on one of the pro-choice, pro-freedom marches in central London, and there was like tens of thousands, maybe 1 million people there, and we'd walked all through London and then ended up in Hyde Park, and I was with some people that I'd met along the way and one of my friends, and we were dancing. It was just such a beautiful atmosphere, and I just sat down on the grass. It was a beautiful sunny day. I sat down on the grass in the centre of Hyde Park, and I just felt this person coming towards me, and then somebody sat down next to me, and I looked over, and it was Rebecca Shaman, like, of all the people, and she just sat down next to me, and she said, so when are you publishing your book then? Right? And I was like, oh my God, like, I haven't seen her, I haven't spoken to her, I haven't been posting about it on Facebook or anything. Like, how does she know? Well, she's a shaman, right? So we'd never had the conversation about that first version of the book, you know, but then we had it. And so basically she said, you know, so when are you publishing? So I just recounted and said, well, you know, I shelved it because I realized I didn't want to publish it the way that it was. It was too salacious. I didn't want to publish anything that I wouldn't be proud for my kids to read and to see being out in the public realm. And she was like, yep, that's exactly the feedback I was going to give you had we spoken. I wish you had called me, but sounds like you've done exactly what I was going to suggest anyway. So it was kind of like an affirmation. And, you know, she just said, it is a really vulnerable thing to do. You might not think that now, but just know it's a really vulnerable initiation in a way to write a book and to put it out into the public domain. Just, you know, be ready for that. And maybe the reason why it's taken all this time is that you really had to be in the strongest and the right place for that initiation and for this next step in your life and in your career and whatever is going to unfold as a result of that. So, you know, I took those words in, you know, because obviously they come from a place of wisdom. And but I really did then take that as an affirmation from the universe, as a sign of support, you know, because of course I've doubted myself all along the way. Absolutely, still sometimes. Is that true? A little bit, but mostly not actually at the moment. But I have absolutely doubted myself along the way. And like, you know, does anybody even want to read this? Is as if even, you know, those thoughts have definitely come up. And so, yes, I had the goal of uploading the final version of the book by August the 1st. I uploaded it on August the 2nd, and I had this proof, but this is the proof copy, so it has this line across it which says not for resale. So I had this in my hands by August the 5th. And of course, you know, I got really excited. It's like, this is my book. Look, that's me on the back. You know, look, it's got an ISBN number. It's my book, right? But then, of course, you sit down to read it again. And of course, you find more little mistakes. So I found more errors. And, you know, it took me, like, would you believe it? I'll show, is it still in here? Because this is the proof, isn't it? Where is it? Yes. It took me so long. I read this about 10 or 15 times before I noticed, for example, that I had 2 chapter 12s and no chapter 13. Unlucky for some. Like, I literally looked at that page so many times and I just didn't spot it said 12:12. So those are the contents in case you're interested. Those are the chapters. They haven't changed. But, you know, you see all these little things. And again, I edited it all myself. So you have to kind of look and then go back and then look and go back. And there was one thing that I felt was missing, actually, as I read it, having got the proof. And of course, being a very impatient person, you know, I just wanted to press publish. I'm just really not good at waiting for things. I just wanted to put it out there. But, you know, I had to do these edits. And then there was one thing that I felt was missing, which was the first chapter. It's called My Erotic Her Story. So, you know, I recount in very, very, very summarized form my erotic history, her story. And the bit that I felt was missing from there was a section on menopause. So I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't even mentioned my menopause. And, you know, that's probably, for me, I take it for granted, but for a lot of women, that's probably quite a big thing. You know, because as I said in yesterday's live, I've navigated menopause as I've been writing this book. And I guess for a lot of women who've not gone through that yet, that can be a really, well, it's a huge shift. It's a huge transition. It's a huge initiation. And I'd overlooked it in writing just because I guess in some ways it wasn't a time of physiologically, it wasn't such a difficult time for me. You know, I think I had a fairly easy transition in that way, but I think it's also really important for me to acknowledge that because Well, A, because of the cultural attitudes towards aging generally, but also the cultural attitudes towards women, especially, and women, you know, in perimenopause, menopause, and then the crone phase, you know, that there isn't really yet in mainstream culture, although there is outside mainstream culture, a sense of reverence and honoring and respect for women in that stage of their life cycle, you know, which actually is a time of great clarity of seeing, great power, great wisdom, and not, again, as the cultural mainstream narrative tells you, not a time necessarily of losing your libido, of drying up, of lacking radiance, of lacking energy. You know, I want to offer women the inspiration, although this book is for all women, it's not for menopausal women, it's for every woman, because this is the other thing we need to understand, ladies, is like we split ourselves off. Again, in my perspective, because of the patriarchal framework for society and culture, into like young people, old people, middle-aged people, you know, instead of understanding that we are a whole, we are a tribe, we are a family, we are a community, and all of us are at different stages in that life cycle. And each stage has its gifts and its beautiful qualities and its value in the whole. And at the same time, you can be a teenage girl and access the wisdom of the crone. And I can be a woman in menopause and access the energy, the vitality, the joy, and the youthfulness of the maiden, right? You know, so we've been taught to separate out into little units and boxes, and that's not actually the most empowering way of conceiving. It's just not how things actually work. So, you know, this is an important part of the teachings, as well as the fact that these practices that I share, these practices of tapping into your body, tapping into your sexual energy, tapping into your vitality and keeping it flowing, which has got nothing to do with whether you're sexually intimate with somebody or not, right? Again, misconception in the mainstream. These are practices, and it's a way of living that keeps you in tune with your life force energy, that keeps you sensually awake and aware, and that never has to stop. It never has to stop. It may shift, of course, in its nature and in its expression and its quality, and we're all unique beings. But there's, you know, so much this expectation still out there of like, you know, you get to 50 and everything's over. Like bullshit. You know, I call bullshit on that one, absolutely. So I added a little section on the menopause, and then I also decided to add a bibliography at the end because, you know, I've read so, you know, if you look at my bookshelf, it's full of books on conscious relating, tantra, the body, chakras, energy systems, yoga, like, and I've been reading these books non-stop for the last 18 years alongside all of my trainings and practices. And so, of course, everything that I'm sharing is a synthesis of all that I've taken in, all that I've experienced, all that I've practiced, and now I'm sort of sharing it out. So I wanted to acknowledge all of those authors and teachers and guides, you know, with a bow. But also, of course, then it's really useful for you to have something to refer to. I feel like I've been talking really quickly today. I don't know if that's because I did yoga this morning and it's just energized me, because we were doing a sort of sexual energy focus class today. So yeah, let me just look at my notes. Yeah, I think that's it for today. I want to just say thank you, first of all, for being here with me and for watching. It's really lovely to know that you're there. Secondly, I want to say this book is on sale on Saturday. I will, of course, be posting the link everywhere, you know, to let you know how to get it. And there's this book launch event that I'm hosting on Saturday all day, and you're welcome to come for all or any part of it. I'm going to post today actually the outline of events, because there's a lot going on. There's going to be competitions to win prizes. I have two amazing special guests coming, one beautiful lady to do card readings and channeled healing, and another to play beautiful sacred music. My daughter's going to play a song as well, and then there are 3 free classes that you can come along to throughout the day. A Shakti yoga class in the morning, a tantric meditation class in the early afternoon, and a Dancing the Goddess class in the early evening. So it's going to be a beautiful, fun, nourishing, rapturous day. And anybody is welcome. Men and women can come along. You just have to join the Rapture book launch group here on Facebook, and I think the link for that is already there. And if you're interested in the course, ladies only for the course, it's on starting on October the 28th, which is a Thursday, and all of the Zoom live calls are going to be on a Thursday evening, so women from the US and elsewhere can join if there's a time difference. And I think that's all I have to say for today. So I know I said I was going to go into the details of the content today, but I didn't, but I am going to do that tomorrow. So thank you for being here. Tomorrow we'll get some juicy details of the content and all of that stuff. And then Friday is going to be the last live before book launch on Saturday. Lots of love to you. Stay juicy, stay well. Namaste.